Good evening, namaskar, and welcome. This is Peter Abraham, and I welcome you back to FTS 3.0 presented by Spartan Poker. We are halfway through this edition of the final table series, and players have started accumulating points on the series leaderboard that has 30 lakhs up for grabs. And the leaderboard winner, of course, will get 10 lakhs straight up. So let's find out who is laddering up on those top 10 spots of the series leaderboard at this moment. As you can see, here's the list of those players. Shashank Desai is leading the pack, playing as Reconnecting, and he's got 2,595 points. Followed quite closely behind by Abhijit Kumar, playing as the Supreme One with 2,438 points. And rounding off the top three is Ashish Kumar, playing as Notorious Convict 1 with 2,331 points. The rest of the names, quite a few familiar ones there. Arjanveer Singh, Chadda, Vinay Rajpal, Mithun Mahesh, Anmol Agarwal, Suraj Todi, Haider Madraswala, of course, and Prabhas Sharma, rounding off the 10th spot in that list. So players have a lot to play for. 10 lakhs. It's not a small amount by any means. So they'll be gunning for that leaderboard prize amongst the tournaments that they're going to be taking a crack at, besides those prize pools, of course. And let's get back to today's tournament that we're going to be featuring and doing this live stream on, which is event number 14 at the Final Table Series, the Challenger event, which is once again a 40 lakh guaranteed tournament, which had a buy-in of 5,500 rupees. We had 666 players registering for this event, and the top 8 players are, they're all charged up to get that top prize of 7.72 lakh rupees, along, of course, with a sweet 18-karat gold medallion and some fantastic goodies courtesy of Spartan Poker. Let's take a look at the payouts now for this final table. Everyone assured for a minimum payday of 88,400. But right up top, like I mentioned, 7.72 lakhs going the way of the winner, followed by 4.86 lakhs, 3.48 lakhs for second runner-up. Then you've got 2.74 lakhs for fourth place. And of course, 2.15 lakhs for fifth, 1.68 for sixth, 1.26 for seventh. And like I mentioned, 88,000 odd for the minimum payday that each of these players will take home. And before we go any further, I'd like to welcome our commentators for the day who are going to be breaking down all the action that we're going to see at this final table with me. First up, we have Mahima Walia Das, a prolific poker player who has already won several titles in the various Indian poker series that you have seen. She's won the IOPC High Roller and the Millionaire United title as well on Spartan Poker. She's played all the seasons of the match IPL with the Jaipur Jewels team and also played with the Chennai Troopers in the latest season of the Poker Sports League. So ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mahima to this broadcast. Mahima, welcome. Great to have you here.
Thank you, Peter. I'm equally excited.
Yeah, it's going to be a good final table. We hope not like the Blaze Fest that happened yesterday, but we hope this one will last a little bit longer. Joining us from that mad manic table from yesterday evening once again is poker wizard Kevin Mcphee, who comes with us on this stream once more. If you don't know it yet, let me tell you that this poker pro has won not just one WSOP bracelet, but 2 of them. He even played for the Goan Nuts in the last live edition of the Poker Sports League and was instrumental in the Nuts becoming champions in that season. So he knows many of the poker players that we see in the course of a series like the FTS. And it's time to welcome Kevin Mcphee to this broadcast. Kevin, welcome. Great to have you here.
Yeah, it's glad to be here again, Peter. It was a pretty fun, really fast final table yesterday. We have a little bit more deeper stacks today and some familiar faces as well. So it should be really exciting final table again.
Yep. We had a total of 49 hands which were played in yesterday's final table, and they just flew by. We didn't even know when the tournament came to an end. It was that quick. But that was, of course, yesterday. And today we have another final table, the Challenger event final table, that is. And leading the chip counts in this final table, we've got the player going by the name NoPrisoners. And that is, of course, Rajat Sharma, I beg your pardon, who won the Millionaire Light on Spartan Poker for 21 lakhs back in February 2020. And he's achieved more than 8 crores in prize money via online cashes in the course of his playing career. So this 42-year-old is leading the table with 77 big blinds, and that's a little over 3 million in chips. Next up is a player called Shanky2507, and no, its name is not Shankar. It's Karan Mehta, actually. And Karan is a 26-year-old player. We don't have much more information than that. But he's got 61 big blinds, and that's a little over 2.4 million in chips behind that particular player. Next up, playing as Katyar 11 is Nitesh Katyar, who has won the Destiny tournament at Spartan Poker back in September 2021. Well, not back in September. That's this September, of course. And so he's coming fresh off of that win. He's got some good form going for him, taking him into this final table. 1.7 million is what he has. That's roughly about 43 big blinds. Next up, we have Neil Joshi playing as Worm33 or Worm33, if you will, a 24-year-old who won the Endboss tournament at Pokerbazi for more than 65 lakhs in April 2020. And he's had a bunch of online title wins, the most recent one being the WPT India Mini High Roller for 16.47 lakhs at Adda 52 in August. And 30 big blinds is what Neil Joshi has, which is roughly about 1.2 million in chips. Yeah, 1.2 million in chips. Next up, we've got Amit Saraf, who's playing as Fishy27. And this 36-year-old has shipped quite a few tournaments on various Indian websites. And his biggest cash has been 4.4 lakhs for first place in one of those tournaments. 25 big blinds for Amit. That's a little over 1 million in chips behind him on this final table. Coming to the bottom three of the stacks at this table, Dipesh Raka playing as Prince 1993, who had a final table finish in the 3 Crore guaranteed event at Adda 52. He also won the Sunday Super Stack on Spartan Poker for 7.29 lakhs back in August of this year. And with 25 big blinds, he's also just under the million chip mark. And that makes him sixth at this table in the chip counts. Harsh Demla is there next on this list. He's got 25 big blinds. Again, a little under 1 million in chips. Harsh is playing as Aja Mal Fuka. The 32-year-old he says that his biggest achievement is yet to come, but he's not done too badly for himself, winning the Mega Suits at Adda 52 for 7.05 lakhs in September last year. And he also won the Friday feature at the WPT for 6.6 lakhs this August. Last but not the least is a very familiar name for us here in the commentary booth because he's made an appearance here at these marquee FT streams before. And that is, of course, Jagat Bhandari, who's playing as JK307. This 43-year-old won the Mint tournament at Adda 52 for 3.6 lakhs back in April. And he also came fifth, of course, in this final table series' Sunday special event for a payday of 3.4 lakhs. 574,000 is what Jagat has. That gives him about 14 big blinds. And here's a look once again at all of the chip counts along with the player names in front of you. Let me ask Mahima first. Mahima, like I usually ask everyone, who are your top 1, 2, or 3 picks that you think will go to the finish line, or at least close to it?
Rajat Sharma, Neil Joshi, and Harsh, maybe. So Rajat Sharma is also a favorite of mine. I quite like the gameplay. Mm-hmm. So he's on the top of the list for me.
Very good. And of course, Rajat Sharma and several of the other players at this table, they have pretty enviable poker resumes. Kevin, I think what we're also seeing with these big blinds, the list of big blinds, there is a bit of a gap between the chip leader with 77 big blinds and the second in chips who's got 61. And then a lot of those middling stacks that we were talking about, 40 odd, 30 odd, 25 odd, they're all there and thereabouts in that neighborhood. Jagat, the shortest stack, is the only one who's below 20 big blinds. With so many middling stacks at that table, what is their strategy sort of going to be? Are they going to try and sort of get traction right off the bat?
Yeah, I mean, we don't have as extreme ICM pressure as we did last time. Yesterday, we started with a 6 big blind and a 9 big blind stack. And today we have our shortest stack coming in at 14 big blinds. So it's going to, I think the middling stacks just kind of want to sit back and wait, kind of see what happens. But they're all kind of clumped together around 25 to 30 big blinds. So it's going to be kind of interesting to see who sticks their neck out and tries to climb up the chip counts a little bit. Of course, we have some familiar names here with Depeche and Neil Joshi and Rajat, who I'm personally rooting for, so he can show that the old guys like me and him can hold it down. So I'm gonna be watching what Rajat does, and if I'm a middling stack, I'm gonna kind of play off of what he's doing. If he's sitting back and kind of relaxing, then I might put on a little bit more pressure. It really comes down to whether or not you just want to ladder up or go for the win. And we've seen yesterday that going for the win really worked out well for our champion yesterday. So yeah, I think just kind of sit back and wait. But if you find your spots, like there's some good spots to ladder up here and put some distance between you and the other stacks. We literally have 3 people with 25 big blinds right now. So if any one of those guys wins a couple pots, they can start rolling and then put a threat to those chip leaders.
Right. Mahima, what about you? Had you been in that similar situation, that 25 big blind, 26 big blind kind of a stack, what would your approach be at a final table like this?
So yeah, 25 big blinds is a pretty comfortable spot to play at. So I'd also wait for my right spots, not get too aggressive at the start, and a couple of flips here and there, and then you're back at the game again. So patience does pay, and that's really worked for me every time.
Well, there you go, from the horse's mouth. The horse who's won plenty of titles, that's for sure. And so, yes, a 25 big blind stack is nothing to sneeze at. All of these players pretty much ready to get the action going. But first, we'll get you, our viewers, some action by taking part in a contest question at this FTS series. So it's time to announce that question. We're not asking you any poker questions like we didn't yesterday. So also, we're going to continue to test your IQ this time around. Poker is an IQ game, but hey, let's just deviate a little bit from there. So I'm going to give you a sequence of numbers, and you need to tell us what's the 5th number in that sequence. So here's that sequence: 77, 49, 36, 18. What's the 5th number in this sequence according to you? Exercise your grey matters and send in your answers as a comment, along with your Spartan Poker ID, of course. And you never know, you might just be one of the winners to the 3 tickets that we're giving away to the Feast Tournament's Day 1G, which is going to be played on the 16th of September at 4 p.m. So make sure you get your answers in there for the contest question. And in case you don't remember the numbers I said, we'll be flashing that contest question on the screen also. But just very, very quickly, 77, 49, 36, 18. What's the 5th number in that sequence? So there's your contest question. I think the cards are ready to get into the air. We're going to check with production really quick. If we are, yes, the cards are ready to go. And here we go. Well, Ace-7 for Rajat Sharma, I'm sure, is good enough with the stack that he has to push it around a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. At this point, he should he would probably try and build pressure on most of the other players. Not much to lose from his position.
Yeah, I mean, he just has so many chips right now, and when he has one of the middling stacks in the big blind, it's going to be really hard for them to defend and check call and realize their equity. So I like using the ace blocker here to open it up a bit. You want to put your opponents to the test right away, start off the final table, and we're going to see him do that here with the ace blocker. I think he'll probably get it through here. We do see a flat call from the queen jack defending their button and flopping top pair.
Hello, queen.
Ladies, ladies, ladies.
Yeah, that's just, I mean, for me personally, when I'm playing and if I see queen jack or jack 10, especially suited, man, there is a certain level of temptation that just can't be denied. So all my discipline comes into play to avoid playing those hands, especially out of position. But a nice flop for JK307, that's Jagat Bhandari, his second final table on these marquee events that we bring you. And sure enough, starts on a winning note there.
Yeah, and he just goes ahead and rips it in there against the continuation bet, just not wanting to mess around, knowing how valuable those chips are for the positioning at the final table. We see No Prisoners just getting right back into it here, though, the undeterred with the pocket sevens. And we're going to get some resistance here from Fishy, Amit Saraf in the small blind. It's going to be kind of a awkward spot. I mean, we're talking about 25 big blinds here.
Pocket jacks are always awkward.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a pretty easy rip. I just don't see how the sevens can call that much. If it was a little bit shallower, maybe we could see a call. But yeah, we're in fact just going to see a 3-bet.
Yeah, probably a JK's stack is here where you 3-bet jam. Fishy can easily 3-bet here and maybe decide his play post flop if it goes to such a situation.
And we see the experience of Rajat Sharma there, just laying down the sevens quite comfortably. Not too much of a decision. Understanding that Fishy's not going to be making that play without a hand. I mean, it's going to be really hard to find a bluff there at a final table, different stage of the tournament. Without the ICM pressures, maybe there'd be some bluffs there. But generally speaking, when somebody 3-bets that size off of 25 big blinds, I'll just give them the respect. It's especially small blind versus that early position raise. You got to give that a little bit of respect. And wow, we're seeing the Jack 6 off step out here.
What a bad time to decide to make a move. But well, I think he gets off a little, quite cheap, in fact, for just that much.
Yeah, and he runs into the ace there, blind versus blind. Certainly can't blame
Hello,
Aja Mal
action.
Puka. Wow, here we go. Queens versus aces. What a setup. And just under 30 big blinds effective. This is going to be super tough from Shanky to get away from. I think we're just going to see all the chips go in the middle here. Should be interesting to see if Worm decides to slow play or 3-bet. And I kind of like the slow play. Yeah. Yeah, when you 3-bet the under the gun range raise, you're really kind of turning your range kind of face up. Like I said in the previous hand with the jacks, like not many people take these spots light, and it's especially true when it's under the gun versus under gun 1. So also allows everybody behind you to make a mistake, you know. So I really like that flat call from Worm 33 there. Of course, we know if he had 3-bet, we probably would have just got it in pre. Pretty safe board for the queens, though. So probably still going to be seeing a lot of chips go in here.
Yeah, I think Worm, given that he set the trap, you think he's going to continue to play coy? I think he will.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you just want your opponents to keep blasting. There's maybe a little bit of consideration about protecting against some straight and flush draws. But he does just want to raise and get the draws out, assuming that No Prisoners can have some of that in the big blind, and that Shanky will probably just stack off regardless here if he has the overpair. And Shanky's in a super tough spot. Yeah, and you can't blame him for shoving the queens.
Oh,
wow,
hello.
Ace on the river.
Just a nice little cherry on the top there on that river card. A full house for Worm 33. And just like that, he jumps into that 2.5 million zone of chips, which is a nice double up for him. Good to get bullets right up top to get your stack going.
Yeah, and we see him taking over the second chip position, and now Shanky is right in that 25, 30 big blind range that the other ones do. Wow, defends the deuces.
Yeah.
And isn't that what you like to see when you defend the deuces, is that deuce right in the window?
He must be feeling that the poker gods have been exceedingly kind and just given him back some of what he lost.
Yeah, and kind of interesting sizing spot here. I think you want to go big with the set on this pretty wet board. So we do see him go about 3/4 pot. Like that quite a bit. You want to give some protection.
I don't quite like the flat call here though, with a gut shot for a 3/4 of your of the pot size.
Yeah, that's a pretty ambitious call. I mean, you do have the draw to the nuts, but with just one card to come, And you got to assume that your opponent's going to be following through, which Shanky does on the river. When they go with that sizing, you know, you got to assume that they kind of have something that's a draw heavy board, but you still ultimately just have king high. So pretty ambitious turn call there.
Well, we're getting some interesting answers to our contest question. We'd asked you to tell us the fifth number of the sequence being 77, 49, 36, and 18. What's the fifth number of that sequence? Sam Razavi is tuned in, our co-commentator from past streams. He's not with us today, but certainly looking at all the action going down. This sounds like my waist size and my bra size. I will try and figure out what the final number is. Well done, Sam. We'll let you crunch those numbers for a bit. In the meantime, though, keep the answers coming. Make sure you... there are a couple of people who've put in their Spartan ID, but no answer. It doesn't work that way, my friends. So make sure you get your answer and the Spartan Poker ID in order to stand a chance to win that ticket into the tournament of the 16th.
Yeah, an interesting spot developing here at the table. We saw King Jack suited fold under the gun, I believe, and Ace 9 taking the opening, and NoPrisoners doing what he's supposed to do and applying pressure to the middle stack and deciding to 3-bet the Queen 9 suited. It's going to be really tough for the Ace 9 to continue now, basically just making a blocker raise pre-flop. And
wow,
yeah, we see the big stack do. Wow,
this can blow up real quick. Well, for one, it's been a good 12 minutes since we've seen an elimination. These final tables, we've had people dropping in the first 5. So, well, there could be every chance we lose a couple of players in this one.
And now, since you've mentioned this, even more of a chance.
Yes, the commentator's curse might just play.
And Shanky had just doubled up Worm. Yep. And now we have the 10s versus kings versus queens. What a setup. Interesting to see. I think we'll see a 3-bet here from Shanky, and then
I think Shanky's taking time to take a decision because he's doing this.
It is a dream spot here, and it's going to be impossible for the queens here to fold. I will be shocked if Worm somehow finds it here. This will just be getting in. I think the 10s should be able to get away here.
Yep.
It's a lot of action to be 3 ways to be sticking it in with 10s.
And that is a good move for Ajamal Fuka, because that should get him out quite comfortably without losing anything more than the 80,000.
Well, the poker gods giveth and the poker gods taketh away. King on the turn will have Worm drawing dead, and Shanky will secure the double up back over to 30 million chips. So,
wow, that didn't even go on for like 4 hands, maybe. They've swapped stacks, and in a matter of 4 hands, it is back to square one for Worm 3-3.
No suck out, and everybody also hitting a full house by the end.
Yep.
That's the way I like to do it. Just have the check mark on the turn. 100%. Drawn dead. There's no better feeling when you get that card. They're just drawn dead on the turn.
Yeah, some nice hands in this one. Ace 8 of clubs, Queen Jack suited, and King Jack suited.
Yeah, and I could see Shanky having all the options here, really. I mean, I could see a shove, I could see a 3-bet, I could see a call. I think generally speaking, with a hand this coordinated, you want to just kind of call. I think fold might be the worst of those options, but just kind of being stack size aware, they're realizing that any move he plays is going to basically be for stacks if he re-raises pre. It's a little precarious spot, flat calling with that many people behind you.
That flop must be burning a hole in Shanky's heart right now.
Yeah, we would have definitely seen some action. Wow, the King Jack floating here.
Should King Jack have just maybe 3-bet or jammed there to... Would that be more positive EV, or is calling equally good enough here?
Well, I think on their stack size, shoving's pretty clear play. I mean, there's just so tough for people to call, and there's still plenty of hands that they're going to be opening with. You just like once you get down to like 20 big blinds, you start thinking about reshoving, because you're with a raise in there, you have 2 big blinds plus another 2.5 dead. Talking like 4 big blinds when you have 20. That's like 20+% of your stack, 25% of your stack in there. So I like the reshove play quite a bit. It's something I've utilized quite a bit through my poker career. It's developed over the years. Now everybody has the ranges a bit more precise, but yeah, I do prefer the reshove there. Very perceptive. And there's the Jack 10 suited, just too tempting to fold out of the small blinds. Kind of an interesting storyline so far is seeing the way that different players at this final table have approached their suited broadways. I mean, we've seen King Jack suited fold under the gun. We saw Queen Jack suited fold that last hand where the King Jack suited ended up calling. Now we see a Jack 10 suited peeling out of the small blind. So, it's pretty interesting seeing how different people approach this stuff. And wow, nice play.
Wow, very well played.
Nice play.
And that's exactly how you do it when you don't hit the board at all. So a nice little pot going the way of Nitesh Katiyar there, playing as Katiyar 11. And not too bad for Shanky, though. Just a little bit of movement in his chips.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the Jack 10 suited there is a pretty good hand to choose if you're going to have any bluffs, because you have a lot of turn cards that can give you more equity there. And you're just kind of taking one of the best hands that you're folding and kind of turning it into your random bluff that you have in that spot. I think most of the time you're going to probably have a strong hand there, and then your opponent's just obligated to c-bet the king high board there. So very innovative play there with the Jack 10 suited, recognizing that a check raise will be winning that pot a fair amount of the time. And when you're close, I mean, you're not exactly wrapping around the king or the 8, but if you turn a queen, you turn a 9, you pick up some equity, you pick up a diamond, something like that, and now you can maybe apply more pressure on the turn. So I like the Jack 10 suited, correlated a little bit to the flop there. Very imaginative, and certainly gets it done.
Yeah, and if somebody's actually hit it and he gets another raise there, he still has enough stack to let go and be able to play the remaining of his game. So quite a nice move.
Yeah, and it puts some distance between him and the rest of the other stacks at the table, and that's really important right now. You see all the stacks on his right: 8 million, 4 million, 8 million, 7 million. He's got good coverage on all those stacks with chip leaders on his left. I mean, he's going to be having some very interesting spots based upon his position now, just with the way the chip counts are distributed, and getting to cover those stacks on his right by quite a bit now. It's extremely positive for him. And Fishy taking it down with the 6s here. So things going a little bit slower than our
very slow
yesterday.
No one getting knocked out. By this time yesterday, we had all headed home.
I know.
It was that quick.
Even the previous days, the bust outs were much faster than what's here today.
So
we just
a lot of queens being dealt today.
These players are really making us work.
Defend and a stop and go. And, I think you're just going to have to look him up here at the queens. I think if he had an ace, he'd probably just be checking.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, that
stop
was
and
half
go
a
play
stack,
gets queens to fold.
That's pretty amazing.
Probably an ace would have also jammed pre-flop there instead of a flat call.
Exactly. There's all the strong aces are jamming pre-flop. Any of the weaker aces are probably just going to check and try to get a c-bet. So, I think I would have liked to see Fishy take a little bit more time there with the queens. It just hurts to just always snap fold when it comes ace high, And I think, he's just going to show up with 10x there so much. Of course, that's easy to say. I get to see the whole cards. I'm not in this player's shoes, so when you're there in the moment and you know you've got some position on these players and you're trying to ladder up, I can certainly understand being scared of the ace. But I think if you take the time to think it through, it'd be like exactly what you said, that the strong aces would jam pre-flop, and probably any ace X would try to check jam on the flop instead of open rip. Just doesn't seems kind of counterintuitive to open rip your ace X on the flop. So we'd like to see Fishy take a little more time there.
Well, not much time taken in that one. Fishy quickly folding, and Prince takes down that pot. Prince 1993, that's of course Dipesh Raka who's playing there. If you see his name, you can see that little IOPC badge that's there next to 3 of these players. They have won these titles in the past, and so plenty of experience here.
This could be a jam by Fishy, and then NoPrisoners is likely to call out there.
There we go.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
it's a tough spot there with ace jack, and I do kind of like that fold. I think, you know, if you were calling ace jack there, that'd probably be one of the worst hands you're calling. I think ace 10 would probably be folding, and he's just kind of recognizing that he can min raise and kind of keep things close to his vest and preserve his chip position. If he doubles up Fishy there and is wrong,
Right.
then he's going to sacrifice some of his chip position. And at this point, I think that he really wants to just kind of relax, you know, and min raise, c-bet, not necessarily have to take marginal all-in spots, which that one was right on the border in my opinion.
Yeah, 15 bigs that was, right? So probably a 10, 12 bigs would have been a snap call. 15, when you say this, I think that makes more sense.
Yeah, I think just ace 10 there would be a super easy fold. Ace queen's a super easy call, and ace jack's in one of those territories where if we were playing live, you just have to look into their soul and try to read it, you know. But we don't have that luxury today playing online, so
Yep.
makes the tighter fold, preserves his chip stack and his position at the table, lets Fishy off the hook, so to speak.
Clearly, some of these hands are causing much distress to Sam Razavi because he's just putting out extended one-word comments in the chat section. Yes, sir, that's how Desis play poker. So we're getting to see some very interesting action happening here.
We see the button open ace 5, NoPrisoners defending the 10-7, goes check on the flop. Big bet on the turn, gets called by ace high, who picks up the gut shot. And now do you turn your ace high into a bluff? And yes, he does.
Should he have bet more? What do you guys think about the sizing here?
I mean, I like the sizing. It seemed fine. You want to go kind of big on the turn. Your opponent checks back. Just kind of want to try to blow them off their hand. But this is a weird spot because you bet big and get called, right? Go ahead.
The story doesn't somehow add up, yeah.
Wow. And he did make sense of the story, which, well, didn't make sense to him. And an excellent call by NoPrisoners in that situation there.
You read that right. Didn't make very much sense. But it is a little scary when you bet big on the turn with your kind of weakish top pair. You get called, and then they fire a very value-ish looking bet, you know, one that they would almost expect to get called by a 10. A little bit of a leveling war going on there. I love those river spots with ICM consideration, and there's some interesting range dynamics going on there, but NoPrisoners does sniff it out and make the correct call. Shanky here leading the middle pair. Interesting play.
Yeah, out of position, I'd be more comfortable maybe letting the other person bluff and just call if you're so confident on your cards. Or maybe save that those 2-3 blinds also for yourselves.
Well, he is going to choose his sizing for the turn, but you're a little bit in the dark there. You're not really getting too much information leading super small, only to check fold. You're allowing all of his overcards to comfortably call. So I think just maybe a check raise or just a check call and evaluate the turn would have been a little more prudent there. But creative play from Shanky, unfortunately, didn't work out. Had to check fold the turn.
So clearly, I think it's important for us to bring Sam Rizavi into commentary as much as possible because he's trolling the heck out of me in the comments. Come on, Sam. I'm not going for my coffee and I'm not going to hit the doom switch. I'll be here right through just to break the jinx a little bit.
Well, you did that yesterday.
Yeah.
You left for a few minutes and it was
that was just
pandemonium.
insane.
They were rioting in the streets and just everybody was busting out, chips flying everywhere. It was crazy.
Yeah, even day before when he went, we were, I think, 6-handed. By the time he came back, we were 3-handed.
Yeah.
Yeah, and interesting here, Worm elects to shove the Jack-7 suited, gets called by the King-Queen, and JK307 secures the double up in the blind versus blind battle. I think that's probably fine all the way around. Jack-7 suited certainly coordinated enough with one opponent to just rip it in and force them to find a hand to call with, and King-Queen certainly strong enough to call.
And all of those middling stacks have just become a little bit less than middling. I see plenty of them under the 15 million mark now, or thereabouts.
Yeah, and we've yet to have our first bust out, so kind of refreshing, letting us. I guess they took my advice yesterday and let us catch our breath a little bit. We're going to see three-way action to this flop, and not all that much for everybody. The sevens probably can continue here. It'll be interesting to see the ace-3 suited. The way that JK307's been playing, I could definitely see a float here for a small bet, and that is exactly what we see. Kind of hoping the pre-flop raiser shuts down, or he just hits his deuce or ace or club on the turn. It's going to be pretty tough for the sevens to continue on the queen turn.
Could Fishy also have tried to steal this pre-flop?
And just rip it in, you think, with the queen jack?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly possible. I mean, I like just defending in these spots. I mean, I feel like that hand flops pretty well. It plays pretty decently multi-way. And it's just like you don't have the blocker to the ace to the king, so all the hands that you're trying to fold out are still out there. So I do kind of prefer just defending there. But, it's always important to explore all your options, If you have a spot where you think you have a read on somebody's flatting too weak or somebody's opening too much, you can always mix it up a little bit. I know that's not the traditional game theory optimal playbook, but you should always be paying attention, always be exploring all your options. But I do think the defend is fine there. Not much out here this time.
Yeah, for once there are no pocket queens or any other kind of pockets, so some calm to the proceedings, I suppose.
Well, we know that happens when Peter walks away and turns on the doom switch, right?
Yep.
Wow.
All right, no prisoners. Getting funky.
Yeah, and JK307 flatting the Jack 10 off. Just not a really a great hand, but especially to battle against the chip leader.
Yeah, and also
Nobody
when
has
there are
any.
so many people who are smaller in stack right there at the table.
Yep, that's it.
Yeah, I think if I were going to play Jack 10 there, it might seem it's probably almost always a fold, but I think if I were going to play it there, I almost prefer 3-betting it because it just looks so strong, and no prisoners can be opening much wider than anybody else at the table, and you could 3-bet and still potentially have some room to fold and cover the other stacks at the final table. Wow, King's just ripping it in. I would like to see a slow, just a raise there on that stack. I mean, you don't want to blow everybody off of.
He might have got
your
some action from Katiyar, but that all-in just drove the pocket threes of Katiyar 11 away. So no joy.
Yeah, even no prisoners could have probably played that hand had it been a min raise.
Right.
Hard luck for Fishy here.
Yeah, Fishy just taking the plus EV jam with the pocket fives, runs into it and Shanky's jacks, and we have our first elimination. How far are we into this final table? This is so much slower than yesterday.
Yeah, it's getting boring almost. Well, there you go. As Kevin has mentioned, Fishy 27, our first elimination at this Challenger final table, finishing in 8th position. That's Amit Saraf, and he gets a payday of approximately 80,000 rupees for his efforts. Well, just trying to stay on. In the middle of the pack was Amit Saraf's stack, one of those middling stacks we talked about, but just not getting too much traction in the course of these initial hands. And I'd also like to make a very important point here. I didn't leave for coffee. There was no doom switch, and we lost the first player with all of that going. So just putting it out there. And yes, breaking news.
If there was a doom switch.
And yes, breaking news, courtesy Sam Razavi, pocket jacks hold. They do indeed, sir.
Ooh.
Oh, wow.
And again, with the leading the middle pairs. Not a big fan of this play. For the same price as check calling, you're leading, and I think you get a lot. You look a lot stronger check calling than just leading. I think leading, it's tough to balance these leading ranges and construct a really good range. And I would have loved to have seen a flat call there.
Yeah.
Not really sure what you're getting called by here, but you are certainly protecting your hand. Just protecting it against what is the question. Just trying to blow off those straight draws, but you have the deck so killed. I think just slow play. Let the guys who are leading middle pair maybe hit trips or two pair, and then get their whole stack in. You're really just protecting against like the queen 10 or like the 10-9 double gut shot there. But Prince moving up the chip counts.
Yeah, that's exactly the situation that it reminded me of those WPT episodes with the late, great Mike Sexton. And he used to make comments on similar kinds of hands. If you have it, then you have it. Good luck to you. But yeah, that was really an opportunity lost, I felt, by Prince 1993. Could have really given a lot of rope to JK307 in that one.
Yeah.
I mean, there is some argument just for winning the pot here. I think it doesn't necessarily apply in this case because you do see the result. Prince now with 12 mil and the rest of the stacks kind of hanging back. And wow.
Wow.
Yes. Classic race, ace, king versus queens. Shanky turning the straight, knocking out.
Katiyar 11.
Yes.
So Nitesh Katiyar is our latest elimination from this final table, playing as Katiyar 11, getting eliminated by the Queens. The Queens are making so many appearances at this final table. And that's the end of the road for Nitesh Katiyar. He takes home 1.26 lakhs for his 7th place finish here at the Challenger final table. Still haven't gone for coffee. Still not turning on that switch. But hey, maybe this is one of those reverse psychology things. Not going is causing all this.
I do find it interesting that as soon as you said, "Oh, I definitely didn't turn on the Doom switch," we have 2 players eliminated.
I have to
I'm a
now
little
just keep
suspect,
quiet.
Peter.
We need to get other people to be a part of this broadcast because clearly my words are just not helping any. Yeah, Sam, you're not helping. Well, Ace Jack for No Prisoners. That's Rajat Sharma here, sitting quite nicely on that stack of 3.7 million. And I get the feeling, I mean, with whatever little that I've seen, and perhaps, Mahima, you know these players a little bit better, playing with them as regularly as you do. There seems to be a general wariness about, the other players with No Prisoners at the table because they're giving him a lot of deference. There's a lot of respect that's been given to some of the raising that he's done. So I think they're quite aware of who he is and where he's coming from.
Yes, absolutely. Like Worm would definitely know him. Harsh would definitely know him. JK would definitely know him. So quite familiar with the gameplay. And Rajat Sharma is creative, but not at that frequency that these people would start to call him off or take chances against him. He's quite a solid player. He's got his math correct, usually most of the times.
Yep.
Slightly.
स्वामी जी का क्या कहें अभी स्वामी जी तो ऐसे ही करते हैं. I think those in the know definitely know what I'm talking about, but that is Rajat Sharma for you, picking up another pot in that hand as well. Wow.
Another interesting.
You should see some stuff going down in this one.
So many pretty hands.
Yep.
We just see the open rip of the ace queen. Ace queen, another one of those hands that I have a difficult time playing, kind of like my jacks, but he does get the call from the jack, spike the ace on the turn, and JK 307 will be eliminated.
Well,
sixth place.
That's a 6th place finish for Jagat Bhandari, playing as JK 307. Started as the shortest stack at this table, about 6 or 7 big blinds, I believe, to begin with. But to have finished in the position that he did in 6th is, I think, pretty good considering all things considered. So well done to Jagat Bhandari, finishing in 6th place for a payout of, we're just having a look at that. For a payout of 1.68 lakhs is what Jagat Bhandari took home for his 6th place finish. And we're down to 5 at this Challenger final table.
Yeah, I think Jagat's got to be pretty happy coming in as the short stack. Managing, I mean, obviously, he played a coin flip to get him in a nice position in the tournament after laddering up a couple spots. Obviously, he's going to be disappointed with losing the flip. But just putting yourself in a position to be lucky and ladder up a couple spots to put a little extra money in your pocket is always nice. So a well-played final table from Jagat, and I'm sure he'll be back again. Very good player.
And speaking of laddering up, Worm33, like his moniker, very, very quietly sitting in that corner, just getting better and better a payday as things go along. That's a nice final table to be on. Losing 3 players before you. Good on you, Worm33. You've got at least...
Worm33 is generally a more aggressive player of what I remember. So different to see him be so patient. Yeah.
Well, sometimes it helps to change it up. Like they say in poker, never stick to the same thing. Be a little, well, calculatively erratic, shall I say. And someone get Sam Razavi a coffee and some breakfast, man. Where is he? In Mexico, right? Some tacos his way as well. It's just, the troll continues. Ladders and Me by Worm33 is the book. Or How I Escaped the Wrath of Peter's Doom Switch. These are all potential book titles that are being floated by Sam Razavi in the chat.
He is in Mexico right now, so he's planning on coming out to the World Series here in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I think
going the Mexico route.
He's doing his 2 weeks out there, and I think then he's going to be heading. Well, there's not too many options on that side of the world. There's Canada and there's Mexico. So I think a lot of players have just split themselves up between those two places.
Canada's pretty. I don't know what the rules are. When I was living up there, it was pretty tough to get in still. I know Mexico is the route a lot of people were going. And we see Worm basically making an all-in shove here and getting called from both of the big stacks. And I think this is probably just going to jam in his last scraps here and get called by both players, and kind of praying he hits some running straight clubs or just pairs up his jack or nine here. But pretty, I mean, when you get called and flop comes queen deuce deuce, you might think that you're dead, but pretty live.
I like the check. Just for fun. I'm going to keep my 4-figure chip stack and check. Hey, one more club might just do it. No, it doesn't. Well, so close for Worm 33, but NoPrisoners still up ahead there. So I beg your pardon, Shanky 2507 still up there.
He actually did fold that.
Wow.
Yeah, he folds, leaving himself 5,000 behind. So he's going to be automatically all in here in the big blind.
And that massive 6,968 chip pot, 26,000 pot that he's going to be playing for. Come on, guys. Let's have
It is
Worm
kind of a
stick around
popular
bit more.
thing to do now, is just leave a little bit behind, you know, just in case something like that happens. You never know. But
well,
yeah,
that was harsh. Hitting that straight on that river was Rajat Sharma. And Worm 33, well, it was a nice run, sir, but all good things, like they say, come to an end. And so that's the end of the road for Neil Joshi playing as Worm 33. Well done to him for finishing in 5th place. And he will take home 2.15 lakhs for that finish. So yeah, it's like our commentator from the previous IOPC series, Gunjan Mal, has mentioned, "Baitne ke paise mil rahe hain." And that's literally "Baitne ke paise" in action that you just saw Neil Joshi do there, taking home 5th place for a little over 2 lakhs.
I still quite didn't understand the logic of keeping back 5,000 chips.
Shagun.
Well, why not?
So
it's just 100% positive he's dead on the river. Got to be very sure, though.
Yeah, no one's messing around with Rajat Sharma now. He's not the biggest stack, but certainly has the capacity to push the table around.
Yeah, we're going to see a very small bet. This is what I would call a very hot-cold. As far as hot-cold flop textures go, you're either really far ahead or really far behind on these textures. Jack, Jack, Deuce. And, of course, we see the big blind defender just has the stone-cold nuts here. And, wow, NoPrisoners is going to go for the double barrel, trying to get him off some ace highs or maybe 2x combos. I'm not so sure about the double barrel here. I feel like a lot of 2x folds free and you block ace highs. Wow.
Yeah. You think if Aja had put some chips out there on that river card, maybe he would have... I mean, there's 3 jacks out there. What are the chances, right? Wouldn't Rajat sort of think that his ace had some sort of standing there?
Yeah, I mean, I think I would just keep checking with the quads. Like I said, I think that the ace double barrel there is a little ambitious because what you're targeting there are ace high hands, which you block, and, you know, 1 pair hands, which a lot of pocket pairs would just, you know, maybe do a little more action pre-flop. I guess not at this stack depth, but he doesn't have much 2x in his range. So I think I would have liked to see just a check back on turn there And with the quads, you know, it's just so hard to bet quads. You just have it all. It's just rather just check. It's just one of those hands that I personally don't want to drive the action when I have it. But especially when it's like check call lead all of a sudden. I think that he played that just fine, just checking again on the river.
Yeah, had he bet also, Rajat's quite sure that he has something to not call it off, especially when he's called both the flop and the turn.
Right.
Yeah,
and a
there's
very slight chance that Rajat still tries the third barrel.
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of repping a king there. So if he does have the king, it's no difference if you check it or bet it. There's chips are going to go in the middle. If you bet it, you don't get the chance to get a raise in. You know, if you check it and he bets his king, maybe you get a chance to check raise and get paid off. Maybe thinking that they have a chop there, playing the 3 jacks on the board with the king. But yeah, I think that just checking again when you had quads. Just, you know, when you have quads, you're not worried about anything. Just go ahead and give them some rope.
Yep. Well, with the hands slowing down a little bit, let's give you the answer to that contest question. And of course, the winners who've won that ticket. We'd asked you what is the fifth number in the sequence of 77, 49, 36, 18. A lot of people were kind enough to do the math in their responses. And so if you were the one who got the answer right or wrong, you can get to see exactly how the answer was reached. The answer is, of course, 8, which is the fifth number in that sequence. And the 3 winners of that ticket to the feast day 1G on the 16th of September are Ratan Singh with the ID new user. There's Yuvraj Lohakpure, if I'm sorry if I've got that name wrong. Yuvraj J. Lohakpure playing as Yuvraj 009, and Shubham Jha playing as Shubham Jha. And these are the 3 winners for that feast day 1G ticket. Congratulations to all of you. We'll try and get you another contest question should this final table go on for longer than we expect. We hope so. So we'll try and get you one more contest question in the meantime.
Yeah, and I think this final table should be going on for quite a bit longer. The blinds seem to be going up a bit slower in this tournament and have some deeper play from our 3 big stacks here. Prince is definitely at risk, just slightly above 10 big blinds, and really, I'm thinking it's going to come. I'm going to call my shot here. I'm thinking it's going to come down to NoPrisoners and Shanky. They seem to have been driving the action so far, but really anything can happen. So it should be a fun. And of course, as soon as I say that, somebody else gets aces.
And this could be the hand where Prince busts.
Now that is what I call mal. Aja mal. Pocket aces. Bring it. Cheers, Raj. Thank you so much. Cheers, man. And well, the prince is not meant to be king, and so with that, we lose Prince 1993. That's Dipesh Raka finishing in 4th place for a payout of, let's take a look, for 2.74 lakhs. Well played to him for finishing in 4th position. And it was down to 3.
And I think we'll see some interesting blind versus blind play when we get down to 3-handed in these tournaments. You know, we've seen a lot of variety about how people approach the small blind situations in these blind versus blind spots. We've seen people raising hands as loose as Jack 6 off at this final table. Personally, when I have a kind of connecting flushing hand, one that I might want to check call, or the one that I am capable of calling, I generally like kind of just limping, controlling the size of the pot out of position. But it seems like a lot of these players have been electing to just raise and try to apply pressure. We do see Ajamal raising the 10-6 suited there, flopping the flush draw and taking it down. So definitely an interesting dynamic that we'll have to take a look out for, is how these guys are approaching the blind versus blind situations. Wow. Quite a turn card there.
Not bad at all. 4th Street, hello.
Yeah, and Ajamal has the double gutter.
Not quite good enough.
Would you want to lead with the trips there out of position, or would you rather let Aja play and then just call quietly?
I think there's a lot of merit to leading in this spot. I think even the solvers would confirm that when there's a raise pre-flop and a check call from a big blind defend, that when the middle pair card pairs, it's a big equity shift on the board, because generally speaking, the pre-flop raiser would check back some of those hands with some sort of frequency. So I think that, yeah, small blind, the big blind leading on that is a thing. And I mean, I certainly can't blame the Jack 9 there with so much equity for calling again. But yeah, nice hand, and I think that's pretty perceptive by you there. Leading the middle pairs is very much a thing.
It's an interesting set of stacks between these final three players. There's absolutely no guarantee who could end up winning this tournament. The stacks are exactly in that space right now.
Yeah, well, Aja Mal is taking the risky approach here again, raising from the small blind, but smashing the flop and turning the straight certainly helps. If you knew you're going to turn a straight every time, then can't blame him for raising. But I do kind of like taking a more conservative approach from the small blind. Just a lot of chips get passed around in these blind versus blind situations in a tournament, no matter what the stage. It's just such an important part of your game to study on, is what hand should I be raising? What kind of ranges should I be constructing here? What hand should I be limping and calling? What hand should I be limping and jamming? And for anybody looking to improve their game, I would highly suggest studying and talking with your friends about small blind versus big blind situations, because it just comes up so often and it's so important. And there's a lot of theory that you can really reveal by studying those spots. But Aja Mal definitely getting after it in raising from the small blind. So taking a non-traditional approach, and it's working out quite well for him so far.
Someone in the comments has mentioned that I can explain to you what his username means. We'll do that once we come to the end of this broadcast. Kevin, that's for your benefit. We'll just do that in a little while, hopefully from now. In the meantime, though, I've been told that we do have another contest question. And yes, it's another riddle kind of a question, once again, for all of our viewers who've tuned in. And here it is. What belongs to you, but others use it more than you do? That's right. We're deviating from our usual poker questions. So the riddle is, what belongs to you, but others use it more than you do? And once again, we're giving 3 tickets away into the Feast Tournament's daily flight, which is going to take place the day 1G on the 16th of September. The other 3 prizes that will be given away. So get your answers in there with your Spartan Poker ID. And just in case, this tournament and this final table comes to an end pretty quick, make sure to tune into the comments. We will be posting the winner names there in a short while from now.
Quite the riddle there. I think I know the answer.
Well, there you go. Kevin Mcphee is going to be getting his answer into the stream. Make sure you do too.
Shanky is also on a good card run.
Yeah, he just went card dead in the middle a little bit there, and he was messing about with some really random, strange hands, but sort of pulling himself back into the space now. Of course, getting the chip lead as well, that helps.
He's really getting in the position where he can just pull away from these players and kind of keep the pressure on. But just the small blind approach here, just everybody wants to raise. I don't know if I like this. You're just asking for trouble, playing a 4-deuce suited, no blockers, out of position against the chip leader for a raise. There must just be a statement on how he perceives Shanky to be playing. If he thinks Shanky's playing overly tight, then it's probably just a fine exploit. But really just probably one of the worst hands you can have in this spot. And when you have one of the worst hands that you can have in any spot, probably good to bet it because you're not going to win anyway other way. So we do see him betting it here, picking up the gutter and
And the
flush
flush.
draw. And I think we could see a bet again, to be honest. Trying to rep that 7, putting pressure on Shanky. And I think we could see like 8 million.
Yeah, if you've taken the line to bet on the flop, river card, probably you need to bet even more.
He goes for the 1/3 pot size. So maybe setting up the potential for another barrel. You know, when you bet the turn, you don't always have to size up super huge because your bet on the turn, sure, it represents here 400,000, but it also has an added weight to it because of the leverage, right? They're also know that they could face another bet on the river, so there's kind of some implied extra value, some added pressure to the bet there because you're 400K and you could be, 900K on the river or bigger. So,
Yeah.
but it's going to be real tough on this river card to get Shanky to lay it down. And No Prisoner recognizes that and does make the check after whiffing his draws. And just like that, Shanky's got a stranglehold on this tournament. I mean, more than double, almost triple second place. And really just goes to show how difficult a position you can put yourself in when you play these weak hands for raises from the small blind. I mean, now No Prisoners is just right in there with Aja Mal, and Shanky has all the power, and all he had to do is just call twice the top pair, and now he's really got a stranglehold on this. So
And a rush of cards as well. Pocket jacks in the previous hand, ace king in this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's been running well.
And 3-handed, even Prisoners likely to maybe take a stab at this.
Yeah, like they say, an ace in a short-handed game is pretty good.
Yeah, and I kind of like this here because it's kind of hard to check call with a ace X weak hand and realize your equity properly as you could in another stage of the tournament. When you're at a final table, you have the ICM considerations. It makes check calling to realize your equity that much more difficult. And I think he kind of recognizes that, realizes he has the ace blocker. It's going to be super tough for Shanky to play back at him. So he does elect for the 3-bet there, but then just runs into the nuts there. And Shanky with his ace king goes all in, and now No Prisoner from the penthouse to the outhouse, as I like to say. Now our short stack after playing an aggressive style. But now the pressure's off him. He can just play poker and play for value and doesn't have to worry about ICM considerations as much as the short stack now. Wow.
That's the 3rd time in a row Shanky's done that to No Prisoners. So I think he's going to lose patience pretty soon.
Oh boy.
Yeah, well, No Prisoners is going to have a tough time winning this pot. I think we would just see a shove here. I think you could just shove. I bet's fine too, bet call, but yeah, shove.
Yep.
I feel like if you're going to bet call, may as well just shove and apply maximum pressure. I don't really want to induce confrontations when you're at a final table. Rather just take down the very valuable chips. And now we have a 4x advantage over second place. 8.4 million for our chip leaders Shanky and Aja Mal. And second with 2.1. Shanky's really got this on lockdown. And then just had another ace king. I mean, yeah, he's been playing well and getting smashed with the deck. It's a nice combo for a talented player.
I think the momentum's really kicked in with Shanky. This is not one of the better hands, but he had just a rush of cards. And as I say it, he hits top pair. So clearly fortune favoring the chip leader massively at this point in time.
Yeah, I think he's playing well. Obviously, he's been on the right side of some cold decks with the kings versus queens and been flopping pretty strong hands. But really, his opponent, he's just allowed his opponents to bluff into him when he's had very strong hands, and that's really vaulted him up a lot. And when they've stepped out to try to put him in check, he has just had ace king, and had good hands. And that's really, really tough to combat when they're playing aggressive and they just always seem to have it. And he going to take it here with the Jack 10 suited as well. But I like the way that Shanky's been playing this final table. The King 8 suited 3-bet. I like the sizing on it. I think Shanky's playing an excellent game here.
Yeah, he's just very, very, subtly he's shifted gears. He was scratching about a little bit in the middle stages of the final table, but now that he's got the chip advantage, he's really looking to amp every spot that he's a part of.
Good timing for no prisoners, but yeah, no value he gets.
No love, no love.
So if I'm reading the bios right, Shanky's been playing since he's 18 years old, right? Says he's 26 and has been playing since 2013. So young wizard, probably forged by the fire of online poker.
Yeah.
Definitely showing
one
that
wizard
he has
to another.
chops to hang. I don't know. I might be too old to be a wizard now. I'm not sure. How does that work? There's like the winner. Maybe he's a wizard's apprentice, and I'm the.
Well, hell,
if Gandalf the Grey here.
If Daniel Negreanu, who's older than us, can still be referred to as the poker kid, then I suppose wizards are eternal. They are timeless. I think it's all good.
Right. Wizards never die.
There you go. We're gonna come and haunt you in your dreams, you poker players. So be nice to us in the comments. And wow.
I mean, yeah, no prisoners.
What a time to get.
Rajat has just had terrible timing with Shanky today.
Oh boy.
Oh
my god.
Oh
boy. That's just, that's just the way the last half of this final table has gone for Rajat Sharma. I mean, my sympathies to him. He's obviously he played a really solid game to start with, but my God, the definition of no traction in this last maybe 20 minutes or so. Oof. And there you have it, folks. Our second runner-up, Rajat Sharma, who was playing as No Prisoners, has finished in third place, and he takes home 3.48 lakh rupees for his prize money in this event. And now down to the final two.
Shanky's got pretty massive stack in comparison, 4.5 times the stack size.
Yep.
So comfortable play. Even Aja has a playable stack.
Yeah, one double up and he's in the thick of things again.
You like limping the button here. 25 big blinds, a little awkward. I kind of like limping at this 20 to 30 big blind stack size quite a bit, rather than just because the issue is when you raise like 100% of your hands on the button, you're just opening yourself up to like the perfect reshove stack. 25 big blinds, they just get to rip it in, and we see here that he would have lost an extra big blind opening, getting ripped in by the ace-7, so he does save himself one big blind there. But just you get to play pots in position when you limp, and you get to keep the range as wide as possible. There's a lot of good things that happen from it, and I like to see that change of pace from Shanky, because you definitely, he's been pretty aggressive. Everybody's been pretty aggressive, and recognizing that we're heads up now, pressure's off. Let's slow things down. Let's control the game. I got all the chips. No reason to push things, the action too much. And yeah, wow. Shanky has been running hot, waking up here at the aces.
Yep.
And King High there is good enough.
Yep, King High
and
rips
hits
it
that
in.
ace. Well, it's just one of those days when things, when they go right for you, they go right for you. And Shanky 2507, that's Karan Mehta, who is going to be singing a nice happy tune as he collects the first place prize for winning this challenger event here at FTS 3.0. Well played to Ajam Al Fuka. That's Harsh Demla, who finishes in second place, and he gets a prize of 4.86 lakhs. We've got the hand of the day that we're going to be seeing right now, which is four-way action with this particular hand, A7 for No Prisoners. I'm not sure I recollect this hand, but our team has decided that this is the one which was a fair amount of interest.
This is the quads hand.
Right. Well, to be fair, I don't remember what I had for breakfast, so... Yep, this is the quads hand.
Such an easy game for Raja here.
Yeah. Quads, I mean, set in a full house, and if that wasn't enough, the poker gods are like, here's some more. Let's give you some more chips via Rajat Sharma's bet there of 3.29. Aja must have been jumping up and down in his seat at this point in time, just giggling away when he saw this river card. And there you have it, folks. A hand which was pretty good and then became better and then just absolutely smoked it out. And that's how that particular hand of the day went. We are not sure that we are going to be able to talk to the winner, Karan Mehta, for at the end of this. We're just going to quickly check. No, we're unable to speak to the winner, but nonetheless, a fantastic final table that we saw. Thank you to all the players for allowing us to do commentary for a little bit longer than yesterday. So that is certainly something that all of us enjoyed here. Let me begin with you, Kevin. I don't think we saw anything majorly untoward on this final table. Things pretty much progressed the way they did. Although I guess from the lot, probably Rajat Sharma was the most aggressive.
Yeah, I mean, we saw some pretty sick coolers. That's really the storyline of this final table. We had, aces versus queens, kings versus queens, a lot of big setups. Seemed like, and then winning the tournament with aces in your hand, the dream of every poker player. Too bad it wasn't live, so you can just hold up the ace. But I kind of feel like there's a quieter storyline that happened here in this final table, and that was how people approach raising from the small blind or playing the small blind in these short-handed situations. We saw Rajat NoPrisoners, Rajat Sharma, and also I'm sorry, the second place competitor. They both were raising from the small blind with hands that might be more traditional limps, and they really got punished for it. Especially NoPrisoners there. That 4-deuce suited, that kind of secured his fate, I think, to a certain extent. He had a little bit of an advantage over third place there at that point, but then taking the 4-deuce suited and just raising it into a blind hand and betting twice and just kind of praying that they fold. I'd like to just see a limp there, maybe just a limp fold. I mean, that's a pretty weak hand. It flops super bad. When you make pairs, you're never really comfortable with them, and you can make some straights and flushes, but in these short-handed situations, those chips matter so much. So I would have liked to see people take a different approach from the small blind there, and basically our champion just got to sit back and was the recipient of all of their. Anytime they stepped out against him, he just was there with the nuts, scooped up the chips. So you want to 3-bet me with the ace-4? Well, I have ace-king, all in, scoop the chips, and then heads up, he finds the aces, opens, and just the timing of all of his opponents couldn't have been worse today. Yep. So he was very fortunate in that, and he was able to secure the win with aces because his opponent, just punched it in with the king deuce there at the end. Yeah. So great timing for him. I think he played a very good final table. His strategy was solid, and yeah, I'll be anxious to see if we see Shanky get back to another final table, because I really thought he played well.
Well, Shanky, of course, our winner for this evening. Mahima, it's always a good thing when you're especially when you're struggling, because that's something that I noticed in the middle stages, that he was sort of scratching around, sort of struggling a little bit, not really getting those hands. But when that tide did turn, kudos to him for having sort of, gone with the flow and making sure that he made it count.
Absolutely. Pretty interesting a game to watch as well from our perspectives. I don't know how the other players would have felt who had coolers and such setup hands in between. But Shanky was on an amazing run, and he actually made the most out of it. He knew the spots to take, let go at a couple of places. Quite liked his play.
Well, there you have it, folks. Karan Mehta winning this challenger event here at the FTS 3.0. And, we've had the opportunity to do commentary for the better part of an hour. So we're really grateful for that. In the meantime, though, it's time to remind you that the Feast tournament is happening at the end of this week, which is the 19th of September. It's a 1 crore guaranteed event, 2,200 rupees buy-in. There's a daily flight happening all the way from now till that particular date at 4 p.m. So make sure you get into that particular tournament, and you could be winning a huge amount of prize money as well by finishing deep in the Feast. It's time to repeat the contest question. We're going to give you the answer to that and the winners in the comments. So make sure you stay tuned to find out if you won a ticket or not. That contest question was a riddle. What belongs to you, but others use it more than you do? Get your answer in there with your Spartan Poker ID, and you could win a ticket into that Feast tournament that I just mentioned, the daily flight of that Feast tournament. And we hope to see you also at one of these final tables. In the meantime, though, it's time to say goodbye from the production team here. And of course, my fellow commentators, Kevin Mcphee and Mahima Walia Das. Thank you so much for joining us on this stream. Until tomorrow, where we bring you another final table, it's goodbye from us.